Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Frank. I'm the CEO of Access Innovation, broadcasting you live from Tel Aviv. And I wanted to welcome you all to the Hungary-Israel webinar, Digital Health in the Post-COVID World. Today, we're honored to have a number of distinguished guests. We have the ambassador of Hungary in Israel. We have the head of the ARC Innovation Center at Sheba Hospital, Dennis Ban, the managing partner at Our Crowd, and Tomer Shar, the founder of CEO of Tunefork, as well as 3 innovative Hungarian startups. So just for a moment to go over the agenda, we'll be starting in a moment with our presentations by our panelists. We'll have a short roundtable discussion, and then we'll have a presentation from the startups. And I'd like to encourage all of you in the audience to please say hello on the chat, and we'd like to hear where you're from. So first, a minute about Access Innovation. We're an Israeli-based company that works with many startups to help them achieve their financing rounds, and we work with a number of large corporations to help them identify innovative startups. We just completed a very large project with Ford. This is a 6th year, which took us to 14 countries across Europe looking for innovative mobility startups. And of course, mobility is a subject that's quite important for Hungary, probably one of the largest drivers in their economy. And this webinar, as a result of our cooperation with the Hungarian government and with the ambassador's office and Zawatch in the Tel Aviv office. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Levent Benko, the Hungarian ambassador to Israel, to open up this webinar, which just shows the great cooperation between Israel and Hungary in digital health. Ambassador, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, a warm welcome to everyone following us today at the first event of our Hungary-Israel webinar series titled Digital Health in a Post-Corona World, organized by the Embassy of Hungary in Tel Aviv in cooperation with Access Innovation Limited. Dear Ed, once again, we appreciate your partnership in this enterprise. Thank you all very much for joining us, despite the Zoom fatigue that has overtaken many of us in the past couple of months since the onset of the pandemic. We promise to be targeted and efficient on the subject of digital health with the following priorities in mind. First, our goal is to provide you with food for thought on the new rules of the game on raising capital for your business. Second, our aim is to introduce outstanding startups and connect the digital health masterminds and emerging entrepreneurs in Hungary and in Israel. Thirdly, we are promoting the creation of Hungarian-Israeli joint ventures. The goal is to raise attention of corporates and investors on the strengths and opportunities of our ecosystem. So let's have a look at our ecosystem. First and foremost, I'd like to shed some light on the human capital available in Hungary, one of the most important factors in this regard, in my view. Today, Hungary is in the upper house of international ratings on human capital. In the current Human Development Index, Hungary is ranked 43rd out of 189 countries. Medical studies in Hungary in particular withstand European standards and are considered to be one of the highest quality. International students can apply to 4 universities that offer medical, pharmacology, and dentistry programs in English, with degrees recognized in the European Union as well as in the United States. There's no better evidence for this than the fact that the vast majority of the approximately 1,000 Israeli students studying in Hungary have enrolled in medical studies. How about doing business in Hungary? And again, let me share with you some key indicators here. When recovering from the global financial crisis 10 years ago, the Hungarian government made a bid for innovative entrepreneurship. The development of the startup ecosystem has become government policy, and it seems to be paying off. In the ease of doing business list, Hungary is ranked 52nd, which is also a fairly high indicator. What are the key benchmarks of an attractive business environment in Hungary? First of all, fast track for setting up your company. It takes a little more than just a single day. Secondly, the high professionality of local IT specialists. Thirdly, a lower salary compared to the EU average. Fourthly, significantly lower rent and cost of living. Last but not least, tax incentives for business angels. 9% corporation tax rate is supplemented by early stage status tax reductions. No wonder that in a recent study by by startups.co.uk, Budapest is ranked #1 out of 80 European cities for launching a startup in the post-Brexit era. The 9% tax rate is the lowest of all 80 cities and a whopping 10 percentage points less than the UK rate. Tax rates are, of course, not everything. There's also the quality of life. Budapest is a thriving startup city with a strategic location on the River Danube, a wide range of educational facilities, a large pool of highly skilled developers, and an upward trend in investment. And last but not least, a great city to live in with a dynamic cultural and entertainment buzz. In addition, the cities of Szeged and Debrecen have their own startup communities, the latter being a favorite destination for Israeli students studying in Hungary. In terms of the funding of the Hungarian startup ecosystem, currently around $1 billion is available on the Hungarian venture capital market for startups. The Hungarian Venture Capital and Private Equity Association is representing the interests of private and venture capital industries. There are 25 venture funds and 15 business angels. Let's have a glance now at digital health in Hungary. Healthcare-related technology development has become a priority sector of the Hungarian government. In 2017, after years of planning and collaboration with various stakeholders, the Hungarian government launched a centralized database of patient records and health interventions with the aim of bringing Hungary in line with other countries at the forefront of digital healthcare. A separate program is running until 2026 on renewing healthcare services and technologies used in public hospitals and polyclinics and reducing waiting time for surgeries, the budget allocation of more than $2 billion. Another $25 million is to be set aside for medtech and health IT development, public hospitals within the program for diagnostics, laboratory, surgery, intensive therapy, and anesthesiology equipment, and the necessary IT support. In conclusion, let me share with you 4 Hungarian startup success stories in life sciences, medtech, and digital health. Number 1, Turbine AI. Turbine AI is using artificial intelligence in the bid to fight against diseases. Not only that they can help pharmaceutical companies in understanding how a disease works, but they also matchmake patients with right drugs and personalized therapy combinations. Number 2, InSimu. InSimu provides the most comprehensive virtual patient simulator for assessing and improving clinical reasoning skills. Number 3, Cineco. Cineco's main product is called Grade, which provides AI-assisted structured reporting for cross-border teleradiology. And number 4, finally, OnCampus. OnCampus is a molecular diagnostics-based therapeutic information service for precision oncology. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I trust that I have managed to arouse some interest in the Hungarian medical technologies ecosystem. I'm very much looking forward to the discussion and hope that our virtual conference today will yield further mutually benefiting business partnership between Israel and Hungary. Thank you very much once again for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. That was really interesting and just goes to the connections between Hungary and Israel, and I hope you'll enjoy some of the startups that are presenting today. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, which is Dennis Spahn, who's managing partner at OurCrowd. OurCrowd is really probably the most successful equity crowdfunding platform in the world with over $1.5 billion raised. And Dennis himself has a long record of investing in startups, working in startups, and really understands what it takes to help a company grow from both sides of the table. Dennis, thank you for joining us today and looking forward to hearing your comments.
Thank you, Ed. Let me just want to make sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we're good.
It's good. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Hungarian to my Hungarian friends, tisztelt nagykövet úr, köszönöm a meghívást, és az összes magyar résztvevőnek hello, jó napot. So let me just start with 2 of my favorite quotes in the last 6 months that I've seen. One was Microsoft CEO's Satya Nadella said that we have months. And the next one is it's Airbnb CEO Chesky, who said, "I didn't know that I would make 10 years worth of decisions in 10 weeks." I think these two quotes really representing what's going on in the world. COVID-19 really exponentially accelerated tech use, not just at Microsoft, but I think with every single company in the world. So I know that there are a number of startups here and also a number of investors. So let me just first address the startups. If you are a startup and you are still alive 6 months into the crisis, so first of all, Mazal Tov, congratulations. But I assume you have already done your job reevaluating totally your business. Yeah, you have cut your burn rate, you have extra runway, you reevaluated your CAC LTV ratio, your sales cycles, your churns have been reassessed. And what we venture capitalists want to see really is, what is the relevance today? How did you make yourself crisis relevant? What is the new product market fit that is also not just a fit for the Corona world, the COVID world, but also the post-COVID world? If you are an investor, then first of all, calm down and just think long term. We at our crowd already made 20 new investments in the last 5 months. And true that many investors focus on their current portfolio and stay away of investing, I think smart investors very clearly are out there on the offense. If you have cash, cash becomes king because you have less competition and there are really many, many great deals are available. Vintage in venture capital is crucial. And just like you average in public markets, the same way you should try to average in private markets. And also there is a lot of data about how best VC vintages are actually coming in the years when there was a downturn. So what is key if you're an investor, that you have to look for best terms, look for discounts, ratchets, and warrants. And this means often for you startups also that you have to give up, you have to decrease partly your valuations. Our thesis is we're looking for what we call the new normal, which is not just a short-term hype, but I think tech that is here to stay. Again, product market fit that is not just for now, but also for the post-corona world, which doesn't necessarily mean medical. Obviously, digital health is one of the hottest sectors, but anything within communications, distance learning, e-commerce, working from home. So, by the way, this slide is very important, says it all, that great companies are built both in good and bad times. And this is a very, very important slide that if you are any company in the world, it very clearly shows that if you invest 10% more than your competitors during the crisis, in 3 to 5 years, you actually outperform 30% better. So a few words on our crowd. We are the most active investors in Israel. We are also the biggest investors in the AI category in Israel. $1.4 billion AUM. We have 200 portfolio companies, 22 funds. We have 13 global offices around the world, not in Budapest yet. We hope to be there one day. And two funds specifically I would like to emphasize that I think is relevant for the participants here. One, we have a fund called Our Crowd Cure with a Q, which is our digital health fund, which is looking for only digital health related businesses. If you see here, take a screenshot and you can find the two fund managing partners, and feel free to send your ideas to them. And also we launched the Our Crowd Pandemic Innovation Fund, a $100 million fund, which invests in 3 areas. This is prevention and containment, treatment and healing, continuity and disruption mitigation. And especially we love companies that have a dual use. So with that, thank you again for listening, and back to you, Ed.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and I'm sure many people will be wanting to talk to you. And again, please use the chat or Q&A to ask questions of our panelists or the startups. I'd like to introduce our next panelist, MD PhD Dr. Natalie Block of the Sheba ARC Innovation Center. And Natalie, Dr. Block actually came back to Israel A few years ago, we had the chance to meet a number of times, and there are really very exciting innovations coming out of startups from all over the world. And Sheba, one of the world's leading medical facilities, is starting to incorporate some of those. So Natalie, thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the ARC Center. And please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. So hello, everybody. My name is Natalie Block, and I'm the head of the Big Data and Artificial Intelligence Hub within ARC, the Innovation Center at Sheba Medical Center. So, sorry, I don't know. So ARC is the Innovation Center of Sheba. It stands for Accelerate Processes, Redesign and Healthcare Delivery, and collaborate with other organizations. I don't know if you see well the...
Yes, we're good.
It's good? Okay. The overview of ARC is that we have 4 different pillars. We encourage innovation from within the hospital. We encourage physicians to come with their pain points and help them to develop models or any kind of product. Innovation from outside, we work with many startup companies around their own technologies and do proof of concept of their technologies. We work with many strategic partners like pharma companies, medical devices companies, and of course that we collaborate with the academia. There are about 5 to 6 different hubs. I just put 3 as an example, and I'm going to talk about the activity that is done around big data and artificial intelligence under my supervision. I have a team of 16 people, and that's what we are doing. First of all, the first activity is really about innovation from within. We have about 20 internal projects that physicians come up with their own needs. We see startups, like I said before, about 34 startups are working already, and more than and almost 20 projects with strategic partners. And the last activity that is extremely was enhanced, and as Dennis said before, with the corona, is digitalization and implementation of machine learning tools within the Sheba infrastructure. In my domain, we are actually about to deploy a few models. We have developed with the industry a model for deterioration prediction 6 hours before the clinicians are able to see it. It's quite accurate. It's going to be alive on the corona dashboards and departments within a week. We have with Intel another model that predict length of stay of corona patients. This might take a little bit longer. We have a triage in the emergency room for patients who come in according to symptoms, if they are high risk for corona or not. We are creating machine learning models around epidemiological studies of patients who had contact to corona patients. We also are developing the databases and the dashboards for clinical trials for corona vaccine that is actually done here in Israel. Sheba is going to be the main lab for that. In addition to the projects in my domain, we have many other projects in other innovation hubs like diagnostics, treatments, and medical devices, all about corona. The next thing that I wanted to show you is really the complexity of what it means for us to create a data lake that is able to maintain and support creating machine learning models within a hospital. If you can see here, those are the different databases that we needed actually to take data from about corona patients from. We created a data repository for all this data that came in. On the other side, we worked on a machine learning models that work on that data warehouse. And then we brought it to dashboards that I'm going to show you shortly to come to the physicians. The idea of those dashboards is that, I'm sorry that it's in Hebrew, it's just that we had to do it for physicians here in Israel, but the idea is really to show them all the patients in the department with the type of diseases that they came in, some types of vital signs, and then how we see the trends of those vital signs or other clinical stuff that we want to calculate, like, for example, like I told you, length of stay or a prediction of deterioration, and then what it means from today on. Whenever they press one of those patients, they get into the data of that specific patient. Those dashboards are outside of the electronic medical records, but actually we get getting updated every 30 seconds from the real EMR, and everything was done within the frame of 2 months of the corona. Since the corona started, we were able really to put this alive after 2 months, just because the regulation actually helped us, and we worked very hard on creating those models and everything. That's it. I wanted to be short and to the point.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalie. And it's incredible what you're able to achieve. We hope that will take us to future space. Now I'd like to just introduce the Tomer Shah, who's the CEO of Tunefork, Israeli digital health startup that successfully grew and raised funds during the last 6 months during COVID-19. And we thought that would be a great perspective before jumping into a short question and answer for our panelists. Tomer, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, great to be here. I'm just going to share the presentation. Okay, introduce myself and the company shortly, and then I want to focus on what we've achieved in the last 6 months. So I'm Tomer, I'm the CEO of Tunefork, and I established the company 4 years ago. But my personal story began with my father. My father injured due to his military service, and his hearing damaged badly. When I grew up, I saw him struggle with daily actions like making phone calls, listen to music, watching videos and movies, listen to GPS instructions in the car. And when we searched for solution for him, we found out that hearing is an individual experience. Each of us has a unique earprint, just like fingerprint, but audio systems and smart devices aren't adjusted to our needs. That means that everyone is missing something with their audio experience. But for 400 million people with hearing loss and over 1 billion seniors, it's a daily challenge, specifically when they try to use smart devices like smartphones, tablets, laptops, TVs, etc. So to help them and my father, we've developed Tunefork, an audio personalization technology that allows the user to find their unique earprint and adjust all the audio content according to their needs. How does it actually work? We've developed a self-hearing test that one can take with a regular smartphone and regular pair of headphones, and in 5 to 6 minutes can get clinical results of their hearing. With the results and our algorithms, we are making audio profiles, personal audio profiles that we can embed back to the device, to specific apps, and adjust all digital audio content according to the user's needs. So that's basically us. There are some other solutions in the market like hearing aids and amplified smartphone, but we have several major competitive advantages. We are clinical accurate. We are working with hearing clinics and hospitals like Shiva Hospital, and we are simple and available. But the most important advantage that I want to focus on today is that we are an embedded software solution. We are totally software. You don't need any special device, any unique device to use our technology. And that's what helped us during this COVID crisis to reevaluate our proposal and to find our new way of doing business. So basically, our business model is B2B. We're licensing our technology to other companies, to smart device manufacturers and audio providers. During Corona time, we understood the huge potential of communication services and music streaming services and video streaming services, that when everybody's stuck at home and you need to work remotely and learn, educate remotely and watch everything remotely. So people with hearing loss and seniors also need this kind of technology, like our technology. It's must have for them. They can't work, they can't participate in Zoom meetings, they can't hear music like everyone else. And in this time, they need our technology even more. So we did a whole process of rethinking about our business strategy, and we decided to focus on streaming services, what we call audio services, including streaming of music, video, and telecommunication services. And so that was the first thing that we did when we understand that this crisis will be with us for the next years, not just for several weeks. And during this process, we were able to achieve several important achievements for startup. First of all, we raised money. We closed our seed round of $1.5 million, led by Tri Ventures and Sheba Hospital. And we are working with ARC currently after the investment. Secondly, we started working on conducting a clinical trial and to verify our results of the hearing test and compare it to medical results in the hospital. And that's a very important step for us. And during this Corona time, it was very challenging to get all the approvals and everything for the trial, but we were able to present it as a technology that will help people during this crisis. So everybody understood the importance of having this trial and getting these results to be able to spread the technology all over the world fast, so everyone can use it during this crisis. And the third thing that we've done, we took our product and we released a beta version for free through the Google Play Store. We currently have our beta version, Tunefork Personal Sound. It's for free and people can use it. They can take the test and they can adjust system-wide audio on Android devices, and they can use our technology. They can use our technology to use every kind of service or Android device during this COVID crisis. I think that's what we were able to achieve during this time, and we focused on the most important things. And as the speakers before me said, we reevaluated our value proposition and we focused on something that we understood is most important during this time.
Okay, thank you very much, Tomer. I just wanted to ask a few questions of our panelists. I guess I'll start with you, Dennis. I'd like to know and hear from the other panelists, what role do you think startups have to play in the innovation in the post-COVID-19 world?
Yes, hello. I think definitely startup has a huge responsibility, and I think this responsibility increased. And I think I think first of all, the major corporations that led really kind of the innovation in the last 20 years, they already been desperate to get access to these disruptive technologies. And we have seen it that more and more of these behemoth, mammoth companies that has been extremely successful, but they don't even know where to start, because instead of competition is not another big behemoth like another mammoth competitor, but the competition is coming out from small piranhas, which is the startups. So instead of trying to acquire or trying to make up with competitors, they have to go and look for these technology companies, and they don't know where to find them, because these technology companies could be in Budapest, they could be in Silicon Valley, they could be in Tel Aviv. So, but we have a responsibility to connect these disruptive technologies to these big corporations.
Okay. Thank you very much. Natalie, if you want to give your opinion on that, how important are the startups to play in the post-COVID world? Please unmute.
We all see that the remote care and telemedicine are taking a huge advantage, and those actually who were there will see how they benefit. We realize that most of the care can be given outside of the hospitals. We are also working here in the hospital of really establishing a well-defined and with many technologies of the whole ecosystem outside of the hospital. This is one thing. And the other thing that I feel that, or we see it, that data became, like, if we always thought that data is important, now it became a tool that we are all trying to collect as much data as we can in order to use it and to gain some insights. So those are really like trends that were started before, but became extremely important, and startups that are dealing with them benefit and can really flourish under the new circumstances.
Well, thank you. Tomer, I wanted to ask you a question in terms of your recent fundraising round. I think investors are often looking for short-term gains. And how much is your approach, well, this is a long-term outlook and stay with us for the long term, or do you think you're going to be able to bring some short-term gains to investors as well?
So during this time, we understood that we have the possibility, the opportunity to give even short-term revenues and accomplishments, because as Dennis said, these huge companies, they don't have the ability to address short-term needs. When we are speaking with huge companies, we're speaking with smartphone manufacturers like Xiaomi and Huawei. We are speaking with telecommunication services like Zoom, WebEx, and Teams, and they then don't have the ability to say, oh, right now we have a crisis, we need to develop a solution for people with hearing loss, let's do it in 3 months. They have the manpower, but they need to go through internal committees. They need to convince decision makers that this is the right thing to do. With a startup, we have the opportunity to say, hey, we have this solution, we can just give you the license right now and work with you to embed our technology into your products, and we can gain short-term goals and accomplishments, but we are looking for the long term. And we say this crisis emphasizes to everyone that our technology is important, but we need to collect these low-hanging fruits, but look to the future and say we will be a big company that will deliver this kind of solution for people with special needs, for people with hearing loss and seniors, and let them give them access to other products and devices that they currently can't use. So both the short term, but looking for the long term.
Thank you. Ambassador, I wanted to ask you a question. I think governments are quite important, obviously, with a solution for digital health. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that COVID-19 is making governments, and your government in particular, move a lot faster to engage with startups and to make decisions faster than they've ever done before?
I think that in this regard, every crisis is also an opportunity, and more than ever before in the past couple of decades, and certainly since the democratic transitions and the fall of and the end of the Cold War, we are in completely uncharted waters where solutions experimented by startups could mean the magic bullet. For example, in a crisis like COVID-19 that we're experiencing now. For the time being, everyone is waiting. All governments in the world are waiting for the vaccine as a sort of magic bullet, which will finally solve the problem and end the pandemic. But of course, there are many skeptics. I tend to be closer to the skeptics in the sense that not necessarily a vaccine itself will not necessarily solve this problem and put the world economy back on track. So any solution, be it on testing or diagnostics or whatever, that could lead us back to our normal way of life pre-January 2020. And any solution found by such startups could be beneficial. And I think that governments are in active contact and should pursue all these possible tracks in how to make these partnerships with these companies.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to be going to the next part of our webinar with the startups pitching. But first, we have a number of polls that we wanted to put out to the people in the audience. So we just put up the first poll, Darina. And we're going to call up our first, we were just trying to understand how quickly have you changed your business during COVID-19, and we'll put up the results in a few minutes. So I'd like to call up the first startup, Iona Stuparev, from HillCloud, one of the Hungarian startups that we're going to be presenting today. Iona, please unmute your microphone and let's share your screen.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's see if I can share. Amazing. All right, so thank you for the invitation. First of all, I'm representing HillCloud, the Hungarian startup. I know some of the people in this panel already, and I had the pleasure to meet many of you. I think almost a year ago at another event organized by the Hungarian Embassy in Tel Aviv. Nice to meet you again, and nice to be in touch again. For everyone else, we are basically okay. So the poll is ready now. So I saw everyone voted. Very nice. A bit about us. Before we start, we are an international team which started working on this software, I think around 5 years ago, based in Budapest. We also have an office in Vienna right now. Our team is quite experienced in clinical trials, regulatory, and IT. Therefore, we developed a software which tackles one of the most important problems of the medical industry, the fact that clinical trials take a lot of time. Basically, you know, probably the statistics show that it takes more than 10 years to get a drug on the market on average, maybe not now with the COVID-19 pandemic, but in general. And two particular problems which our software targets is, first of all, the very difficult identification and selection of patients which meet the criteria of specific clinical trials, primarily in interventional trials, so phase 1-3 trials. And then in observational trials, the fact that there's an increased demand on the market for real world evidence. And we need longitudinal data, which could allow researchers to follow, to monitor how the status of a specific patient changes over time. This is basically longitudinal insights into patient situation. This is something that we have been working on improving and developing, especially in the last 2 years, since we discovered that it's a real problem on the market. It's a separate market niche for this. And basically what we developed is a software, a two-pronged software, which helps our clients build their own proprietary data networks. How does this work exactly? I'm going to explain now. We work primarily for pharma companies, CROs, and we are also targeting insurance companies. Basically, all of these already have access to lots of data. They have a huge network of hospitals. But the problem is that because of different regulations among countries, because of different levels of digitalization, they don't have all the data in the same place, right? Every time they need to run a study, they need to check with every hospital what data they have, what patients they have in their networks, and whether those patients fit the requirements for each study. This takes time, this takes money, and in many countries, this is still done manually. So you have to go and actually discuss locally with the PI, and you have to check, and then you have to go through the process manually. This is highly labor intensive. Even in those countries where we have EHRs and where the process is digitalized, it still takes a lot of time. So basically, this is our main target group, hospitals and CROs. I put this slide here just so that you can see our faces. This is basically the core team. Besides this, we also have a team of developers, all Hungarians, working from Budapest on developing the software. And a bit of how far we've come so far, what has been our traction. So far, we have raised 4.1 million euros, and we have been working for top 3 CRO in the world on oncology trials. This, I think, is the most noteworthy client that we have, plus other clients from the medical data informatics sector. And I think something new for us is the fact that since June or July, we have been selected to be part of the EDEN consortium, which is an EU funded project. And we are basically working with hospitals from all over Europe to help with data standardization efforts. And we are doing OMOP mapping for them. This is something that is new for us as well. And we have been working on this in that a good opportunity given the COVID pandemic. Otherwise, we couldn't have access to this. Last but not least, yes, Ed?
We're just about out of time, so just
Yes.
finish up, please.
That was it. If anyone has questions or if anyone wants to contact me, I am happy to give you any information later. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Please, the people in the audience, please send your questions and we'll have time after to bring them. Now, in the meantime, I'd like to ask our panelists if you have any questions you'd like to ask Iona.
Sure, happy to start. First of all, thank you. One great presentation and a good energy, and you got it through, got the message through. Do I understand correctly? Are you aiming now for the hospitals and the CROs, or for the pharmaceutical companies? So who are the client? Who is the client? Who is the paying client?
The paying client is the CRO and the pharma company. That was the last slide, which explained that we offer the software for free for hospitals and general practitioners.
Okay, and basically the pitch to them is for the pharmaceutical companies, it's very clear because you try to kind of you give them an automated technical solution through a software which kind of from the different countries and from the different the data, who gives you the data, you kind of bring it into the same level so that they can actually use this data from different sources, correct? Is that the...
Yeah, and the data is proprietary, so we don't have access to the data. It's only them. We just sort it, arrange it, and the software is very easy tailored to what they need, because each company has different needs and different strategic preferences. Yeah, and the pitch to hospitals is that basically if they agree to install this extension to their EHR, because it's like an extension, right? They can have already an EHR for which they pay for. They will have access to potential clinical trials, which are more likely to get there, and they will be paid for them, because that's why some hospitals are not considered at this point, because the pharma companies just don't know that, they have patients and they have the capability to do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Natalie, did you have any questions? Okay.
No, I said no, that it was very interesting. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next startup, Istvan Petak from On Campus Medical. Istvan, welcome, and thank you very much, Iona, for presenting, and please stay with us.
Okay, hello, and I would like to greet everybody, and I would like to thank you, Ed, and all the organizers for the opportunity to be here and share with you our latest developments. I also had the pleasure to already met some of you 1 year ago together with Joanna, and thank you very much again for hospitality in Israel. I dream about to go back. I hope to go back sooner than it is reality now. But I'm very happy to be together. And also this is something which was a benefit of COVID for us, that we started to use Zoom and video systems like this more often. And actually also our company is started virtual molecular tumor boards to share our ideas with oncologists all around the world. So this is a clear benefit to startup. Now I just share my screen quickly and just follow on the idea on why we should think about cancer while we are fighting COVID. We just have the first statistics from US, which is really frightening, that the number of people showing up for screening, cancer screening, fall back 60–80%. And this is what we also experience in Hungary, that people just don't go for regular screening and they don't go to doctors with minor symptoms. This will be a devastating in cancer deaths in the next years. This is our fear, that we will lose many, many lives to cancer because of COVID, paradoxically. So our startup company have focusing always to find tools and solutions for precision oncology, which is the concept to treat patients based on the individual molecular profile of their tumor. So this was always been a dream, to identify the genetic cause of cancer in each patient and find a targeted therapy. So first we pioneered the molecular diagnostic solutions, pioneered the next generation sequencing 12 years ago. And since that time we have been focusing developing decision support solutions, because we realized that this would be the next problem. So we have an R&D headquarters in Budapest, We have almost 50 people, many PhDs and MDs in research. We already had $6 million investment in, and we generate revenues already. Last year, we generated over $4 million revenues from our digital support services. But today, I would like to talk about our latest development is an AI tool to actually to help the doctor to choose the right targeted therapy based on the individual complex molecular profile of the patient's tumor. The problem is that by now we know that each tumor contains several genetic alterations, not just one. So the current paradigm of precision medicine to match one alteration to one drug, it just doesn't work for most of the patients. So because each patient has 3-4 alterations simultaneously, so we have to calculate which genetic alteration to target, or we have to choose a target which is linked to multiple genetic alterations to create the largest biological effect. And so we generated this, developed this tool over 5 years now, and so it's already a registered medical device as a class 1 device in the EU. We can take in any type of molecular diagnostic data generated by current state-of-the-art molecular diagnostic labs, and we can assign a mathematical score, a predictive score with this tool to the drugs to predict the response to predict the response of the patient to this drug. And this year we have a very exciting new result. We presented at our virtual ASCO, the American Society of Clinical Oncology annual conference, our first clinical proof or clinical evidence that our system can actually really improve the outcome of precision oncology. This is a study we did together with the Institute Marie Curie. We took patients' data, which was profiled by next-generation sequencing, and the doctors had to assign targeted therapies based on the profile, and we could show in this study that we can improve the decision of doctors, oncologists, and predict the group of patients who have a higher chance to respond to a targeted therapy.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but we want to get to some questions from the panelists. So
thank you. This is the last slide. So this is why we are here, to improve precision oncology all over the world, and we also need investment to accelerate our R&D. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I'd like to go to our panelists. Natalie, do you have questions to ask of István?
Yeah, it's not really a question, but it's really more of a remark. I mean, I think it's a very interesting and a good a field to enter. There are many companies in that field. We have here in my center about 4 that do AI in oncology and precision medicine. You need, in order to have good source of data, you really need to enter a good hospital that is able to collect all the data. And it's great. I mean, it's definitely going there, and it will be the best way actually to treat oncological patients.
Great. Thank you. Dennis, do you have a question or?
Yeah, sure. So based on this presentation, it sounds amazing, and we looked at also quite a number of molecular profiling, and targeted therapies, and especially for oncology. So we would love to learn more. I mean, this space is obviously not just exciting, but it's life-changing as well. So just one question in the meantime. So the $4 million revenue, where does that come from today?
From complex decision support services, which includes molecular profiling and
from hospitals? From hospitals? From the
hospitals, yes.
Hospitals, okay.
Yes, so per patient.
So you already have an established relationship, paying relationship with the hospitals? Yes,
so we have contracts, dozens of oncology centers, and we process over 1,000 cases a year already. So we already processed 10,000 cases in the past few years. So it's ongoing. But it's a class 1 device, so a decision support device today. And our aim is to develop this to be a predictive diagnostic device. And that's our
Business
first
with AI, added AI. I understand it. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll
Great.
learn more.
Thank you very much. It's fun. Good to see you, hopefully in person again. I'd like to bring up our next poll, really also about how your business has changed during COVID-19. And if you could just take a moment to give us your feedback, we'd appreciate that. As we call up our next panelist, Zoltan Bas from Art of Info, to give our last presentation.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. We don't see
Okay.
your screen.
I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. We see it.
Can you see my screen as well? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for inviting us to this event. And thank you very much for Joanna from HillCloud because she did already an introduction to the topic. We are working, let's say, on the same topic and the same problem. Probably we have a different solution for the problem. So the main question, how we can connect the patients, how we can find patients and target to the clinical studies, how the clinical research organizations can find the patients they need. So the problem is that the number of clinical trials are increasing, of course, and direct recruitment of the patient is forbidden in Europe. It is different in the US, but in Europe, only the referral is allowed. And the problem is that there are not, it is very difficult to find the patient, and some projects are cancelled, some trial projects are cancelled because a lack of patients, or even projects are not started. So Hungary or other countries could make more revenue from the clinical trials if we would be able to find more patients appropriate for the trials. In many cases, there is no database or no consent for using the patient data, and the patient journey is not controlled. So this is the problem that we are trying to solve. Probably a quick overview of the market. So the number of active studies in worldwide is, you can see on the first diagram, and a map about Europe with the active studies. Just an example, in Hungary, there are around 1,000 studies, in Israel, 1,700, according to clinicaltrials.gov website. What is our solution? We have established an electronic platform which connects the patients to clinical research organizations. This way is legal and GDPR compliant, of course. And we connect the patients through third parties like GPs or radiological diagnostic centers or hospitals. And the solution supports an automated matching of the potential patients to the trials. The whole process is transparent for all participants, so it is possible to track what's going on, and everybody gets the necessary information. So how does it work? It is not so difficult. Our partners should connect to the platform. The partners get the information about the ongoing active projects. They download search criteria, and they start to refer patients which fits the criteria. The CROs select the patients. There are screenings, screening of the patients, and then if there is a match and they accept the patient for the clinical study, then we share the fee, the referral fee with the partners. So this is the.
Dalton, we're just about out of time.
Yes?
I want to leave for questions, so you could just finish up, please.
Is there any question?
Yes, let's go to the questions. Panelists, I'm sorry for cutting you off, Zoltan. Okay. Nat, do you have a question you'd like to ask? Okay.
No, sure. I mean, I would love to see, you know, in order to ask the questions, I would have loved to have some more information. But do I understand? So this is basically, just to summarize it, it's an automated matchmaking, you know, for the CROs, and then the business model is basically that you share the fee with the partner, which the partner is the one that does the referral. Correct? Is that
correct? It is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So do you do you have any traction already? Does this in terms of numbers, revenues, traction, any feedback from the market?
No, it is not launched yet. So the product will be launched in the first quarter of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we are working with partners on the integration. So this is our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zoltan. And I wanted to thank the panelists, and I want to introduce my colleague, Jason Weiss, CEO of Access, who's going to answer some questions. And we have one last poll question we're going to put up. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you to all the startups, all the panelists, and all the speakers we have today. I'll wrap things up. And first of all, we have one last question I would like to throw out, perhaps to the ambassador or to anyone from Hungary, from an Israeli participant asking about if there are any telemonitoring startups in Hungary. Is this an area where you know that there are startups? So anyone feel free to answer from the Hungarian side.
We'll get back to the gentleman who asked this. We'll get back to him with an answer as soon as possible.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. So in a minute, you'll be seeing a link to join our networking room, which is a different Zoom link. We're gonna have open networking, so everyone, as soon as this ends, hop right in over there. Now, I want to tell you what we have coming up next from Access Innovation. We're going to have another webinar next Thursday focused on cybersecurity. So what are the opportunities, the challenges for cybersecurity startups? We're going to have speakers from Kaspersky, from one of the top European investors, from Fox Rothschild, one of the leading international law firms. You can all find that information and sign up. That's a free webinar. Next, after that, on November 18th, we have a much more in-depth event called DICE, the Digital In-Car Experience. So for anyone who is interested in automotive, has a startup solution, or looking to understand what the future of in-car experience is about, that is taking place November 18th. And you can sign up there, register, get tickets, or if you're a startup, you can apply to present. On December 8th, we have an event focused on telecom innovation. This is our annual event bringing together global telecom operators and corporations with Israeli startups with actionable solutions for telco operators. And then in January, we have an event we're partnering with partners in Las Vegas right before the CES event, which is focused on mobility in a broader sense, smart cities, lots of activity between startups who want to engage with city operators, with cities who want to run pilots. So we have a lot going on here at Access Innovation. You can find all of this information up on our website, accessinnovation.com. So that wraps up the event. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, for your time, from the ambassador to the startups, the investors and the speakers. Now you'll see our last poll question, and then everyone can head on over in the link to join the next Zoom room. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.